Welcome back to the Pickleball Studio podcast. In this episode, Will and I go over everything you need to know about how we prep for tournaments, things you should know if you're going to your first tournament, stuff you should bring, and how we get ready. I think you guys will enjoy this one. All right, so we're back with another episode, and we have some really fun news. I'm actually very glad now. The other night, you couldn't record the podcast, and we waited till today because we would have missed. Honestly, I would have debated re-recording the whole intro.
I knew you would.
Yeah, because this news is just like way too good. So this weekend, the APP Chicago tournament happened, and we had two players from Minnesota that were going to play pro, Amrik Donkina and Anik Lohani.
Wait, hold up. Say that again. Amrik and Anik.
Amrik and Anik. Yes, they are two different people.
Mixed up already. I already know.
I know you will.
Whoa.
I know them. But yes, people do mix them up all the time or think I'm saying the same name. But no, it's Amrik Donkina and Anik Lohani. So Amrik has played pro in a couple tournaments already. I think this is his third pro tournament, and this is Anik's first pro tournament. And they had just like a phenomenal breakout match. Honestly, by the time you hear this podcast, you probably will have seen it everywhere on social media because they just went nuts. They took down Adam Stone and William Sobek in the first match. Then they beat John Cincola and Ryan DeHart. And then the next match, they had to play the number 3 seed, which was DJ Young and Thomas Wilson. And they beat them in the first game, 11-6, I believe.
Pretty
and
impressive.
then in the second game, they pickled them.
Then
The number 27 seed pickled two of the best players we have on the
destroyed.
tour right now.
Destruction. They got wrecked.
I seriously could not believe it while I was watching it. I really feel like DJ Young and Thomas something just seemed kind of off. But I mean, Anik and Amrik just went crazy. They came in swinging.
Yeah, don't take away from Anik and Amrik.
Definitely not. They earned it for sure. But it was crazy to watch. I could not believe how that went.
I'm so glad that they kind of broke out. I mean, I don't really know Amrik or Anik, but I remember seeing videos of Anik like way back, and he plays with such intensity and speed. And like I think the only other person I know that reminds me of that kind of like ferocious like play style is Tioni Pesa from Arizona. Shout outs to Pesa. But shout outs to Anik as well. And like I've been telling people like ever since I came to visit you, right? I've been telling people, I was like, how do you guys not have like a few pros like just kicking ass, taking names in the pro tour? Because I just feel like Minneapolis has so much depth. I felt like when I visited you, I felt everywhere I went, I bumped into like a 5-0. That's what it felt like.
I really feel like Minnesota is kind of a sleeper state where the people in Minnesota know the potential of the players here and how close they are. Like we have a ton of 5-0s, just not very many that are starting to play pro. A lot of them want to, but they just haven't quite stepped into the ring yet. But I really think we have, I mean, you saw it firsthand, but there's a lot of players with a ton of potential here. And I think in the next couple years, you're going to see a lot from Minnesota. I don't know. I can think of a number of people just off the top of my head that they'll go nuts in the next few years.
All right. I mean, that was sick. I still can't believe they pickled them. Like,
that's such a giant achievement, especially Anik. Amrik has played a couple pro tournaments, but Anik, this is his first one. So, I figure there's going to be a lot of nerves. Like, maybe you still play well, but there's, like, kinks to sort out. But, like, man, they just came swinging. And then their match against JW and Deckel, they did lose. That's where they went into the losers bracket. But they still played really well against them. I believe both games were 6-11, 6-11. You could tell JW and Deckel had control on the match for the most part, but if you watch some of the highlights, like the hand battles were crazy. They had one of the best points I saw from this entire tournament. It was just a ridiculous hands battle. Minnesota guys ended up winning, so props to them.
JW must have loved it.
Oh yeah, well, that's the crazy part. So for all of you out there, if you're going to know Omric on the tour for anything, it's that he can hit the crap out of the ball. I seriously think there are not many people on the tour right now that hit the ball as hard as he does. There were even a couple pros that chimed in on Facebook that were like, yeah, I played him in Indianapolis last year, and this dude's forehand is
insane.
Unreal.
Dang.
Yeah, it's just everyone
I heard
around
Pickleball
here
even flinched.
Yeah, he did. There was a point. Now it did clip the net, so that could have been part of it. But if I recall watching the point, I feel like he started to flinch a little before the ball came over. But I could just be misremembering that. Who knows? But yeah, he really hits hard. If you watch him hit an overhead, they're absolutely ridiculous. Some of his earnings from this game were just absolute monsters. You guys just got to go watch the match.
Yeah, I need to go
they
watch.
They are going to be all over the tour. And both of them, they have big tennis backgrounds. So I know that Omric played D3 tennis at Gustavus, and he was like, I don't remember his exact ratings, but he was like top 30 in the country. I can't remember if it was country or state. Oh, man, I should remember this because I literally just made a video of him talking about these stats. But basically, very high-level tennis player, and Onik was the same thing. I can't remember if he played D1 or D3.
Okay. I mean, bottom line is they have heavy, good tennis experience. But I guess I'm a little surprised. Maybe not as surprised, just because I feel like if you come from tennis, most like solid like tennis players, like they go into singles and they do really well, because I think singles tennis and singles pickleball are very close. I almost feel like it's like 90% like the same almost. And I just feel like in doubles, it's a little bit more difficult. It's more nuanced. So for them to do that well is pretty crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying?
And Onik is really good at singles too. He went 2-2 at this tournament in singles, losing to Rafa Hewlett and I'm completely blanking on the other guy he played, but it was another common name player, and he did well against them. They weren't blowout matches. So I think very shortly you're going to see a lot of Onik on the singles tour as well.
Okay, man, dude, good stuff.
On top of that, so not only just to highlight Omric and Onik, even though they are kind of the star of this one, in 5-0, we had Sammy Lee, who is one of our junior up-and-coming pros. He's 16 or 17, I believe. He won gold in 5-0. So now we all keep teasing him. When is he going to stop sandbagging and start punching with the pros?
Sammy. Yo, I miss Sammy. Sammy's a good kid. I love Sammy.
Sammy is one of the nicest people. Yeah, he's such a great guy. So it's awesome to see Minnesota starting to kind of show everyone like, look, we're here to ball.
Man, honestly, like Sammy's the reason why my doubles game hasn't improved as much as I thought. You know the story? The first time I played Sammy, so it was the Texas Open last year. I was playing 4-0 at the time, and I didn't get to play him in singles. But he made it to the back draw. I think he came in third place, so I didn't get to play him in singles. And then I just remember him and his partner were waiting for the longest time for the gold medal match for 4-0 doubles. And I was coming from the back draw, and we finally made it to play them. And I think him and his partner, I don't know. I don't remember what the scores, but I just felt like they were in control like the whole time. So Sammy pretty much took away my closest doubles opportunity to gold, you know. And I've never ever recovered ever since then. All my doubles.
Let's go Minnesota.
All my doubles has been horrible after that.
I really think give Sammy another year or two, and he will probably be playing on the pro tour. And at that age, you just have so much time, like training. Like he's gonna be someone for people to keep an eye out for.
Dang. All right.
Yeah. All right. So that's basically that tournament. Super proud of them. They did great. I can't remember the exact bracket. It was a little confusing. But I think the match with them against JW was the semifinals. So they were super close to making it. Hopefully next couple tournaments they make it.
Oh, so they didn't podium.
No, they didn't podium. Yeah, they ended up in the back draw. They ended up losing to John Cincola and Ryan DeHart. And it was 14-16. So it was an incredibly close match. Yeah.
Dude, how were they playing? Were they just like, I don't know, was it just hand battles all day? Did they play slow at all?
Amrik and Onik play very aggressive. Like, again,
sick.
because he hits so hard, it's just like, that's the best skill for him to use. So a lot of hand battles, a lot of drives. And the crazy part is, this was with Amrik playing, in my opinion, some of the least consistent I have personally seen him play. And I'm sure, some of that's nerves and all of that. So once that gets dialed in, it's going to be crazy. People in the chat were like, why is this guy like being so inconsistent with his drives? So once those dial in more, it's like, it'll be game over.
Crazy.
But this all leads perfectly into today's topic, and that is everything you need to know about tournaments. Will and I are going to talk about tournament prep, what we like to do, things we bring, things you should know. Pretty much just all the things about tournaments, because both of us are going to the APP Atlanta Open Golden Qualifier.
Oof.
So we thought it would be good.
Oh my gosh.
You want to start us off, because you've had a lot of stuff come up recently.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so before we get into the signing up at the tournaments and all that stuff, and then what's happening to me personally on the tournament side before we go to Atlanta, all the crazy stuff that's happened to me, like me losing my partner and everything. Here in Tulsa, we hosted our first big pickleball tournament, and it was hosted by first of all, shout outs to anybody out there who's trying or is running tournaments out there, because it's not easy. It's tough. The logistics, it takes a whole entire team to make it go smoothly. And even then, just accounting for weather and stuff is tough. So we hosted our first big tournament. We were only expecting 250 entries, but we got 350. And I think for this year,
crazy.
It was, I don't know who told me the stat. Maybe it was on pickleballtournaments.com or something, but I think it was the second largest pickleball tournament in Oklahoma, either ever held or maybe even this year. But it was big. And I was volunteering for this tournament. I was trying to play, but I wasn't sure because our first tournament, so I didn't know if the team needed help. So I only played singles. It was my first time in 5-0, and I didn't play any of the doubles, and I got squashed.
but not really squashed, because you got fourth.
Okay, yeah, I technically got fourth, and I just wasn't mentally or physically prepared for this tournament. I don't think.
Now wait, but is this the part where you tell me, because you left out that
what
there was only 4 people in your bracket?
No. No, I'm pretty sure the 5-0 singles, I think there was, I want to say there was 8 people in the bracket. All
right. So that's a normal bracket. A lot of APP tournaments cap at 8.
Yes. And then here's the thing, it was supposed to start at 9 o'clock, but there was heavy rain in the morning, so we had to move indoors. And so I thought it was going to be a debacle, but it went fine. And then I got a bye my first round, and I hate getting byes. You advance.
There are people, they talk about this. They're like, do you like getting the bye or do you not like getting the bye? Clearly you don't like it.
No, I don't like it. So maybe there was 7 people, because obviously I had a bye. And I just remember coming in and I saw Ignacio. We call him Nacho, right? And I played him once. He's in one of my videos. He plays D1 tennis. He plays number 1 or number 2 for ORU University here in Tulsa, which is a D1 school. Not I don't think it's the strongest D1 school, but regardless, you're a D1 division.
Yeah, you're a tennis athlete.
Exactly. Yeah, and he's from Argentina. And I saw him. He was hitting the pickleball. And I walked in and I was like, "Are you playing today?" And then Alvaro comes in. He's the best player here in Tulsa. He plays on the pro tour as well. He's like, "Yeah, Will, I've been working with him a little bit," and I was like, shouldn't you be focused on tennis? I know it's the off season, but what are you doing over here? And I was like, I don't want to see Nacho in singles until the very end. And I've seen him. I've watched him play singles tennis, and man, he runs everybody ragged. He grew up on clay and just nice ground use. But anyways, so of course I get a bye, and then the next match, I haven't warmed up or anything because I was busy volunteering, and I play him. And I just
That's the best way to start.
Oh my gosh. It felt like I went straight to a gold medal match. That's what it felt like. He destroyed me the first set, like 11-4. The second set, I was kind of warmed up, so I'm up like 11. I won like 11-4, 11-5. And then the third set, I'm not clutch at all. I was up, I think, like 10-2, 10-3, and he just wouldn't go away. And then he came back and he beat me like 13-11 or something. And I was just like, oh my gosh.
Dude, that is
Anguish.
good mental fortitude on his part. And very unfortunate for you.
No, obviously my mental and my physical, dude, I was huffing and puffing. And granted, like, you know, Nacho.
Did you use your timeouts?
No, I didn't use no timeouts. That's another
You got to
thing.
use your timeouts to catch a breath.
Dude, I know, but this is I told you I wasn't mentally like prepared for this.
Oh my goodness! I'm
Okay.
gonna coach you at tournaments from now on.
Oh, even when
I'm gonna
playing
be
against you?
giving you the hand signs in the back, like you should take a timeout.
Okay, so
If I play you in Atlanta,
Yeah.
and we're like just way up on you guys, like because obviously Shay and I are gonna come swing. It'll be like 9-0. I'll just give you the signal from the others. No, I won't even give you a signal. I'll just be like, hey, you might want to consider using that timeout about now.
Oh my gosh, no, you can't do that. I will call the ref on you because you're not allowed to coach like during a match.
No. It's not coaching if I'm playing you. It's just banter.
Oh, okay, you're right.
Imagine getting faulted, telling the opponent something they should do.
That would be something that happens to you.
It probably would. just something to give us to talk about on the podcast.
Right, of course. But yeah, and then I mean, I went throughout like the rest of the day on the loser side and made it all the way to I guess like semis and losers, and I lost to this other guy named Brandon, who I met in Texas, also a very good like 5-0 player, and he was just squashing me because he had a really good, deep, consistent serve, like topspin serve to my backhand. I think it just kind of shows you like you don't need no fancy serves. Like getting it deep to like in a good spot, like maybe to someone's like weak side, is really all you need. Like don't go in there thinking you need to do something fancy. Stick to the basics.
Yeah.
You know, you'll be good to go. Honestly.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, how did you feel? Because this is your first time playing 5-0. How did you feel overall? Did you feel like you could hang? Did it feel like it was a bad idea?
Yeah, no, I definitely felt like I could hang. I mean, Nacho made it all the way to grand finals from the winner's side. I think he lost because his opponent like came back from the back draw and beat him in like the tiebreaker match. Plus, he was just tired. But like, I mean, that kind of made me feel good. I knew it was going to be tough. And
Yeah.
I think this is also a good time to explain just real quick, like how pickleball tournaments like go. Like, you know, it's double elimination. And I feel like if you're new to tournaments, right? And let's be real, I feel like most people outside of pickleball have not competed in a tournament setting in anything. Like it's probably, you know what I'm saying? So this might be your first time.
Or the sport, if they have, it's just different.
Right, exactly. Most sports that you're used to, maybe watching on TV, a lot of it is a single elimination bracket. So like you play inside a bracket and then once you lose, you're out and you're done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So in pickleball, it's a little different. It is double elimination. So
Most of the time. There's also round robin.
There's round robin.
But if it's a big tournament and your bracket has a normal amount of people, you will be playing double elimination. At APP and PPA specifically, it'll pretty much always be double elimination.
Yeah, which I think is cool. I like it. I don't know. What are your thoughts on double elimination? Do you like it?
That's for sure the way to go. I like it more than round robin.
Okay, yes, agreed. So I don't know. How do you explain to somebody? Like, I think I kind of have an idea of how I would explain it to somebody.
I'll start, and we can do our usual thing where I overcomplicate it and use a bunch of extra words to explain it, and then you summarize it in about 10 seconds. So a double elimination bracket, I mean, it's like it sounds. You basically have 2 chances before you're completely eliminated from the tournament. So everyone starts out in what people often call the winner's bracket. And then, so let's say you play game 1. You win, you move up, and then you play the next winner who moved up. And then the losers of those match go into the losers bracket. And then people play the losers inside of that. And if you lose inside the losers bracket, you're just done with the tournament. That's your second loss. You're out. But for the amateurs specifically, you can often grind your way back from the losers bracket to the winner bracket for gold. And the loser bracket is almost always 1 game to 15. There are some weird scenarios where it can be less, like when I was in New York briefly because of the rain. it was 1 to 11. But most of the time it's 1 to 15. And then the winner's bracket is always best 2 out of 3 in normal circumstances.
Right. I mean, no, I think you summed it up pretty well. The analogy I like to tell people is like there's this building that you're trying to get to, right? And the winner gets to the top of this building, all right? And then there's 2 lanes to get to this building. There's the highway, which is the fast lane, which I call the winner's bracket. And then you got the back roads on the backside, right, to get to the building, right? And then once you get to, and then I like to think of it as winners finals, losers finals, and grand finals is the big one, right? So you're taking these roads, you're getting to the building, you try to get to the courtyard, right? And you make it to the court. If you go from the winner's side, you automatically get into the lobby of the building. And then you wait for everybody else to, you know, cram in, trying to find parking or whatever, and they duke it out in the parking lot. And then if you're from the loser side, you also get into the building. And then that's when you have grand finals. And then you play there, and then whoever wins there gets to go on the top of the building and take the game or take the tournament. That's how I see it.
I would love to hear specifically from the viewers, like leave a comment, DM me, tag me somewhere. I don't care. Contact me in whatever way you feel appropriate. And I want to know whose explanation was easier to follow, because that was definitely, I know what you're saying, but I felt like that was so much more complicated.
No, it was more complicated. This is just how I think. This is just how I think.
I love it. And I love the analogy though.
And like, I don't know, it confuses me when people tell me.
One quick thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if PPA does this or not, but APP does this, and I went through this in my first APP tournament. So let's say you're coming back from the losers bracket and you make it to the gold medal match.
Yeah.
Not only are the medal matches 2 out of 3 again, but if you came from the losers bracket, you have to win those 2 games, and then you also have to win a game to 15 because you came from the losers bracket.
No, yeah,
the winner, if they win 2, then they just win. They don't have to play to the 15. I actually at that tournament I was the winner in my mixed match. We got to gold, and then we lost the first game, and then like right as we're about to lose the second game, I was like obviously pretty upset because I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I really felt like we should have beat the team. So I was like, oh, this is so silly. So when we lost, I was like obviously mad, and I was like starting to pack up my bag, and then the ref was like, okay, you guys have 1 minute to regroup. And I was like, wait, what? I forgot the game to 15. So I was like pumped up after that. And I was like, oh, we have another chance. And then we still lost and got second.
Yeah. I think all of them do that. And I think rightfully so. It kind of gives the person who made it through winner's side, like you have the, I guess, what would you call it? The privilege?
Just advantage.
Yeah, the advantage of winning that first best out of 3. But honestly, when you make it to the gold and you're waiting for the gold medal match, you get cold.
Yeah, there is a lot of waiting around.
Yeah, if you make
at tournaments when you're waiting for gold.
That happened to me in Texas and in Arizona. I was waiting for like the gold medal match, and I just feel like you're waiting for all the loser side runs to complete, and then you get cold.
It can be okay. I personally am not a huge fan of waiting in general. I don't like getting cold, but it also gives you a nice little chance to start scouting your opponents.
True.
You're like, ooh, that guy's backhand, not good. I know whenever someone watches me, they're like, that guy's backhand, hit to that backhand.
No, that's definitely what Sammy did when he was waiting for me in Texas or whatever. Because once I got on the court, like I almost like I didn't see that many balls. He was like he barely hit. Like,
he knew
to me.
He's a smart kid.
Well, I mean that, but like I was the setter. Like my partner was the one who was like, you know, speeding up and finishing the points. He was a super tall guy, but like I don't think his dinking like in his short game was not as good as Sammy's.
That's
like,
good.
Yeah, Sammy's was probably one of the best slow games. He's really good at slowing it down.
He's very good at it.
Yeah.
Well, so before we kind of do the rest of this, let's kind of rewind a little bit. I want to basically take people through, if they haven't been to a tournament, kind of just the whole tournament experience from like signing up to getting to the tournament and then stuff like that. You already know what we're starting with.
Yeah, I already know.
This is everyone's least favorite thing in pickleball.
Let me guess.
And that's pickleballtournaments.com.
Yep, I knew it.
Everyone
worst site
hates this website.
ever.
So if you haven't signed up for a tournament yet, I'm sorry when you finally have to use pickleball tournaments. It is an extremely confusing website. I don't think it's made that well. Like I think universally, I don't know of anyone who's like, yeah, it's a good website.
No,
Like I
it's
only ever hear
trash.
complaints.
It's trash.
I don't even know where to start about why it's hard to navigate. Okay, one of the first things is the search function is pretty poor. So in speed cubing, the website we had to search for tournaments, you had all sorts of filters. You could like filter by radius around a location. You could filter by city. You could filter by date. And it was all super obvious. Like if you went to the worldcubeassociation.org and tried to find a tournament, super easy. And if you were searching, you could just put like Minnesota. You could put like half of a word from the tournament title and it would find it. On pickleball tournaments, if I search Minnesota and there's a tournament in Minnesota, but it doesn't have Minnesota in the title, it doesn't come up. Yeah. Even though you can filter by location, if I just type Minnesota, it won't come up.
Yeah.
So, and then I think sometimes tournaments don't tag their location, so you use the filter and it doesn't work anyways. The search function is just really bad.
Yeah,
so
don't use the search function. Use the filter function.
That or just know the exact name of the tournament.
Which is crazy because sometimes these tournaments are like super long.
Yeah, they have some
names.
crazy, some really weird name. But yeah, so the website's not super great. I always find it really confusing. The first, was it the first tournament? No, it was the PPA I went to and signed up for. I was trying to play above my UTPR because I think it had me at like 3.5 and I was trying to play 4.0 singles. And
but you're 3.5 initially, at best.
Yeah, get out of here. Also, I'll have you know, all you listeners, you guys have definitely made this a consistent meme. You guys are like commenting on I hit like an Ernie, or I hit like a nice backhand and I post a reel and people are like, that's a nice 3.5 backhand. So don't let Will manipulate you. Don't let this become a meme.
It's already a meme. Solidified.
But so when I signed up, basically it has like a default. It knows what your rating was after a last tournament or whatever, and then it defaults you to that. So if you don't change it, you will get put in the division it defaults you to. And I didn't know this, so I got put on 3.5, and I was like, no. I'm trying to play 4.0, and then I had to email, and there was like maybe a wait list. So it took a little while to get it all sorted out. So if you are trying to play above your skill level, make sure you check the correct box. That can be a little tricky. Is there anything else you can think of that like people should be aware of on the website that's kind of confusing?
Oh my gosh, I just feel like there's so much to go through. Like really, if you're having problems with it, just try to ask somebody who's gone through it to help you, because even though I've signed up for multiple tournaments, it just feels so cumbersome. And sometimes I'm like, did it go through? Did it not go through?
Yes.
And paying, like there's like a 2-part process. Like you've registered and then there's like...
And then you have to pay.
And then you have to pay. So if you registered, but you didn't pay, like...
You're on the list.
Yes.
And it'll show like red money symbols next to your name, meaning like you still have to pay.
Yeah.
But so you're there, but you still got to pay. And make sure I would recommend to people, a lot of people like to wait to pay, myself included, because these tournaments are expensive. But I have heard of people getting taken off the list because they took too long to pay, or they missed an email about like, hey, the registration or the payment date is this. Actually, that just happened to my brother for a local tournament. He was signed up and he didn't have his partner registered because he was just like waiting or whatever because the tournament's like a month away. Isaac got dropped from the list. He had got an email, missed it, got dropped because other people were willing to sign up. So I would pay and have both you and your partner register ASAP.
Yeah. And then also sometimes like picking your partner, there's like a page where you have to like choose and select your partner. And so they have to have an account with pickleballtournaments.com. And then do you have to have an account with USA Pickleball?
So if you're doing an APP tournament or a sanctioned tournament, you have to have a USAP membership, which is like $30 a year, $60 a year. I can't remember. Somewhere in there. And you have to have that in order to register. I think you have to add your ID number somewhere on your Pickleball Tournaments profile, and then it just uses that to verify that you're a member.
That's what I'm saying. It's really annoying and cumbersome because you have, these different moving parts and like, these different governing bodies that, are is trying to do their job essentially. So
well, if you're someone new, let's say you're trying to go to a sanctioned tournament, it's the
Yeah.
first tournament you've ever done. You don't know anyone in pickleball. You're just like, this one's close. I'm going to go to this.
Yeah.
And you're like trying to sign up. You're like, okay, I got to make a pickleballtournaments.com account. That makes sense. And you're trying to register, and it's probably giving you some error, like, hey, are you a USAP member? And you're like, what the heck? What's a USAP member? I don't even know what that is. And then you got to go over to the website and figure out how to become a member, and then where to put your ID. It just, whole thing could be a lot cleaner than it is right now.
Really could.
So yeah, like Will said, if it's your first time using it and you're really confused, ask someone. A lot of people have been through it and they can probably help you. It does get easier the more you use it, but it definitely has a lot of things.
One feature that I really just want is that if I've registered for a tournament or I've already paid for it, like on the homepage, on like my login page for my profile, I wish there's a button that says tournaments you're registered for. I don't know. At least I can't find it, and then it would just show.
We literally
of
have that for this our speedkeeping organization. You just click this button and it's like, here's all the tournaments you're registered for, and I think it'll even tell you like, you haven't paid for this one, you have paid for this one.
It's annoying.
Like it's just and the speedkeeping one's built by volunteers, so I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just like I want the tournament to be better. Or the website to be better. I think it was even bought by Tom Dundon.
It was.
I think. Yeah, so I'm like, I'm sure it's being worked on. Like, a big overhaul takes time. I understand that. It's not going to be like, oh, in 1 week it's just fixed. But I hope next year or something the website has a big overhaul, because it could just be so much more user friendly. So just be aware, if you're going to your first tournament, pickleball tournaments, probably going to be a little confusing. But now I'd love to talk about how you and I like to prep. Let's specifically talk about the bigger tournaments like the APP and PPA. Local ones, sometimes people are like, oh, whatever, it's a local one, Yeah. So tell me what you like to do.
Oh, okay. Well, before anything like actual like pickleball drilling or anything happens, I kind of go through it with like a mindset of, okay, I'm going to this tournament, like, what is the purpose of this tournament? I feel like there's two types of people who like really want to go to compete, to win, show their mettle, test their mettle, it's every 4-0's dream to like go and feel like to win and feel like they can play pro, or to like go play pro and, do what.
Why you got to call me out like that? Why? I'm right here. If you're gonna do it, at least hang up the call and then say it.
I'm not calling you out. Let's be real. This is everybody. Like everybody, you know how many people out there who are around 4-0 or who think they're pretty good, and they want to go and they just feel like they want to dominate and go. Unless your names are Onik and Emmerich, who you just go to your first pro tournament, and well, maybe it's not their first pro tournament, but they just go and just demolish everybody.
Yeah.
So there's like two types of people, like the people who go compete or whatever, and then the people who kind of just go in there just to have fun. Both are fine. I will warn, I guess, new tournament goers out there, like, you're going to see both these people, and you're going to see the extremes. Like, you're going to see a person who is just super into it, being super loud or obnoxious and super intense, and like, sometimes it brings out some nastiness in people.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I saw a guy in New York that he was hard to watch. Oh, yeah, he was yelling at the ref.
Rob Cassidy and his complete meltdown.
Oh my gosh. We'll save that one for another one. I wanted to include it because it's an interesting story, but because of the other news, I was like, it'll just take too much time. Like, the podcast will be really long. So anyways, we'll do that another time. All right, but
yeah. So like, you go in there with that mentality. What are you going there for? Like, and is this a tournament where, maybe it's your first tournament or whatnot? I feel like if it's your first couple tournaments, like, for most people, just go in there and just have fun. Like, try.
Yeah, I would say lower your expectation.
Exactly, lower your expectations for like how you're going to perform, but not necessarily, obviously believe in yourself that, you're going to do well, but have fun, enjoy the process, go watch some of the pros. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely watch the pros. You will be amazed how much faster the game looks in person when you watch these pros.
Yes. And you'll make some friends, see if you can get some play in, because it is a lot of fun to like play different people, different styles, because
yeah.
Right? You're probably used to the people you play around. You kind of know their styles, and you kind of have this game. Yeah, your little bubble. And it's funny. the pros probably have their own little bubble as well because like they play each other like all the time. So when somebody new comes on the scene, you know, who they haven't seen, like, you know,
I think that's literally what happened with Amrik and Onik.
yeah, they weren't ready for it, and they're just taken by surprise. So, you know, anybody can take you down. You can take down anybody. You know, so that's like my first thing, like mentally. And then if I'm going there to like compete, and if I'm in that mentality to really compete and do well, like I think like you have to think this like, you know, I'm gonna crush everybody. Like, you know, I mean, you get humbled, you know what I'm saying? Like I did, but you have to kind of go in there. If you're going to compete and to win, and you happen to play somebody who, I don't know, maybe you know, or maybe you heard of, who's like a big name, or you know that's good, you just got to think like they're not that much better than you. You have to go in there thinking like that, because if you don't, then you're already going in with the losing mentality.
This is funny because this talks about one of my favorite ways I love to prep that I try to not do, but I did it for this Atlanta tournament anyways.
What?
And that's looking up people's duper to know how tilted I need to be on the court if I'm playing a 5-0 singles player in my 4-0 bracket.
Oh, snap.
I would generally not recommend that people do that. I did do it for this tournament. There's only like 5 or 6 people in my bracket, so it's not that many. This one looked fine. There was like maybe one guy that had like a 4, 5, 7 duper rating.
All right, so bottom line is you worry about other people and I worry about myself. So is that our difference? Is that our difference for our mentalities for the tournament prep?
Well, we'll find out. I actually wasn't gonna do it for this one, and then I was like, the bracket's so small, because I did want to try and do. It's not really gonna happen in 4-0, just because you know you get a wide variety of people. When you get to the higher levels, maybe it narrows down. But I was gonna try and like look up people and be like, try and study the game a little bit. But I feel like you can't really do that till the higher levels when the pool narrows down a lot.
Yeah. I hear that. Okay, well, what about you? Like, what do you do? I guess aside from like looking up people, like maybe play wise or drilling wise, like beforehand. Like, how much do you prep beforehand? Like, really prep?
Yeah, So for this tournament, I really turned up my singles practice because I really, really want to win this singles tournament. One, just because I feel like I've improved a lot and I've been putting in a ton of hard work. Like for the last 30 days, I have like very consistently drilled my two-handed backhand because I really wanted it to be more of a weapon than it was. And I've been really happy with the progress that I've made on it. I went from essentially it being unusable, like maybe 2 out of 10 times it would do anything remotely decent, and now I feel like it's something I can rely on, which is really helpful. So for this one, it's been a ton of singles practice, still drilling doubles, but I just know that my chances of winning singles are a lot higher, and because it's a golden qualifier, I just really want to win it. And I guess we should talk about that just really quick.
Yeah.
There are the APP. The PPA does not do this, only the APP. APP has these golden qualifier tournaments, which if you win your division, you get a golden ticket, which is a guaranteed ticket to play at Nationals. They don't pay for your flight or anything. It just guarantees entry into Nationals. If you don't have that ticket, you can still get into Nationals, but you have to join a lottery system. So I think you can sign up, and then you might just be randomly selected. So the golden ticket is kind of a coveted thing because you're guaranteed to get in. But golden ticket tournaments also bring all of if when we talk about sandbagging, golden qualifiers is the highest tier of sandbagging. Like everyone wants that ticket. So you're not talking about like B tier sandbaggers. You're talking like S tier sandbaggers, like professional sandbagging. So just be aware that if you're going to a golden qualifier, that's where you're going to see it the most, because people just really, really want that ticket.
Have you been to like a national? Is it even like that great?
I haven't been to nationals myself. I've generally heard it's really good. It's at the Indian Wells Tennis Center, which I hear is just like a really iconic tennis venue. People, from what I've heard, people seem to really enjoy it. I haven't been there myself. I would love to go this year if I get a ticket. Even if I don't, if somehow maybe I could do some workout there that like gets me flown there or something, that would be super cool just to experience it. But yeah, we'll see about that for me. So yeah, I do turn up my tournament prep a lot. I haven't been to a lot of big tournaments since I have started doing the YouTube channel, maybe 2 tournaments. But what I've started doing is as the tournament gets closer, I start lowering my paddle reviews or how heavily I'm working on them because I really want to make sure I'm very comfortable with the paddle that I want to use, and I'm not going back and forth between a ton of stuff like, oh, I need to review this paddle. Like right now, the Gearbox CX11, that's next on the list. I have not touched those at all because I just don't want it to mess my game up. So that's a big thing for me is lowering the reviews that I do.
Let's see. Okay. Well, practice-wise, what I do is I feel like I should be drilling more. But when I do drill and when I do play, I actually start changing up my style of play a little bit. I start really focusing on resets and just like dropping stuff in the middle, at least at the higher levels, like, 4-5.
I think that's actually really good because in my experience, that is one of the first things that goes absolutely terrible at a tournament is dinking, drops, and resets. Like you're more tight, at a tournament.
Yeah.
You're worried about it. You want to beat the other team. You're just, especially if you get down, you're really worried about it. So your grip pressure's tighter. Maybe you're a little shaky, whatever. So I've just found for me, dinking always gets a lot worse. So like having a heavy focus on dinking and resets is really good.
Pretty much have heavy focus on that, at least for doubles. And really, I then I start like dropping it in the middle. Like I remember in my 4-0 tournament back in Texas, I was super nervous because I was playing with somebody at the time. His name was Kyle, and he was a much better player than me, and I was nervous, and I didn't want to let him down. It's my first time really competing with him, and that's another thing too. You have this pressure of like letting your partner down, and he just told me, like, dude, don't worry about it. Like, try your best to drop it in the center, and we'll take care of it. Like, don't worry about it. Even if they hit it back or whatever, like, you can get it back. It's not like tennis or something where they just smash it and it's like completely over in the next shot or maybe in the next 2. Like if you have a decent enough dink and drop, and then also like you're worried because your opponents are going to be capitalizing all your mistakes, but they're human too. They make mistakes as well, and everybody else is nervous as well. So I'll be practicing that. And then for singles, I need to practice my backhand more. Like 90% of the time, if you go out there and you compete in singles, even at 5-0, maybe a little less than 5-0.
Backhand. Hit to their backhand.
Hit to the backhand is typically the weaker shot, like almost like 9 times out of 10 the weaker shot. And even if they have a good backhand, like it's probably not as strong, typically not as strong as their forehand. And you'll find success there. Like if you go in with just that strategy, I guarantee you that you're going to be doing pretty well. Like, if you do a forehand on their backhand, typically you're going to be doing good. You're going to be doing solid.
Definitely. So I don't know if you've had like a set, and I didn't set a specific drill amount, but I feel like leading up to this Atlanta tournament, I've been drilling 2 or 3 times a week. I'll go out with Patrick and usually we'll just work on like some hand stuff or drops. One of my favorite drills that I've actually gotten a lot better at, this was one of the most infuriating drills, and maybe I just need to do it with more people, but is you're in the middle of the court, partner is at the net, and then you start the drill by the person mid-court feeds the ball, kind of like a lob, and then they just smash it at you, and you have to just keep trying to reset the point. And for me, I try and get it to where I'm getting it back in the kitchen, and then the point is neutralized, and then usually from there, if they hit the ball back to me again, I'll pop it up again and just try and work on neutralizing it again. It's a very hard drill, but it feels very rewarding when you're just sitting there and you're like, boom, you just like blasted an overhead at me, right back in the kitchen.
Yeah, no,
highly recommend.
That sounds a good drill. I'm gonna try and incorporate that. Honestly, I don't drill as much as I should. A lot of the times, I'm just playing like a lot of games, and I'm trying to play against like the best people I can find. Like typically people better than me.
That's another thing. I would like to get maybe more strict about this in the future, but I typically try and lower my rec play a little bit, or I intentionally try and set up matches with people that I'm like, hey, I want, like, this is a serious match. I want to play it like a tournament. Like, I just need something where, it's like, I still want everyone to have fun, but sometimes when you're doing rec, people just get lazy about stuff. Like they're a little tired and it just doesn't simulate a tournament very well. So for singles, I've been good about doing that. Doubles, I haven't set it up as much for this, but I think that is a good way to kind of get you in the mindset, especially if you can get them to play with timeouts and stuff. You can just get a little more strategic about, wow, that point wore me out a bunch. Maybe I should use a timeout now so I can catch my breath. Or, maybe they're on a run and I just want to slow it down. Let me use a timeout. Stuff like that.
That's
really
something
good.
real good because, I mean, obviously in this current tournament that I just got stomped on, like I didn't use my timeouts, at least in my first match against Nacho. It just was, I don't know, out of my head. But you get used to it. But I think if you're a new player at a tournament, it's, I don't know, for whatever reason, it feels, I don't know, weird to call a timeout, especially if you're not,
It does.
Yeah, like as weird as it sounds, you should practice taking timeouts.
Use your timeouts. My first tournament, I can't remember if we used much of ours. In the gold medal match, we used them all, I believe. But singles especially, I think it's good to use a timeout. A lot of times it's used to break momentum from an opponent. Like they're getting away from you. They're up too far. You just need a break. But another way, I can't remember where I heard this, but you could use this offensively or defensively. Usually people call it an offensive timeout if you are the one serving and you call the timeout. You don't see that very often. Normally it's a defensive timeout. You're receiving and you call a timeout. But if you just had a super draining point, like you just exerted a ton of energy and you're exhausted, probably a good time to call a timeout and then just like recoup your energy so you're not exhausted for the next however many amount of points. Like I'm a player who I love to run to the ball, so sometimes I overdo it. And even if it's like, if I get to that ball, all I'm going to do is pop it up for them to finish. I'll still run for the ball. So I'm not very good at like managing energy in that way. So a timeout can be a good way to offset it. But I don't know. Your opponent's obviously going to be tired after certain points too. So if you feel like you can outlast them, maybe it's worth capitalizing on them being tired. So just things to think about. Make sure to use your timeouts.
All right. Good advice.
Yeah.
Good advice from the rookie.
We'll see. After this tournament, we can decide how rookie I am. Because if I come like, I don't know, if I get fourth or fifth in singles of this tournament, with how much effort I have and practice I have put in, I will be heartbroken.
You'll be upset. Wait. Are you playing 4-0 or are you playing 4-5?
I'm playing 4-0.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You got
so
this.
We'll see. Yeah, I'm really excited for it. I've been looking forward to it a lot. But yeah, the next thing I want to talk about is what do we bring to tournaments? Because I think there are certain things you should really be aware of bringing.
Okay. Yes.
So I'll start with mine. I'm
ahead.
just going to kind of go down the list of things that I like to bring. First, if it's hot, which most tournaments probably going to be hot,
Very hot.
bring a bunch of extra shirts. I have training singles lately. It's not even as hot here as it's going to be in Atlanta, but a couple games in, my shirt is like completely soaked and like stuck to me and it's gross. So I know in Atlanta, probably after every match, I'm going to swap shirts. Like I don't want to be wet all day. So bring extra shirts, bring a towel if you really sweat a lot. I haven't really used a towel in the past, but I'm probably going to start doing it now. Big water bottle. Usually there are water fountains all around that you can kind of fill up at or get water from, but make sure you have tons of water. It's so unbelievably easy to get dehydrated at a tournament. People are so focused on the matches and like nerves get to them and they stop drinking water. You will feel terrible. Please drink water. And then in addition to water, bring electrolytes. Again, keep it from getting dehydrated, cramping. That's a big problem. You see it all the time. I personally use Propel electrolytes. I would like to try some other stuff. People have given me some recommendations because I guess Propel isn't particularly amazing for you, but it's what I use and it works. Do you have an electrolyte you drink?
Not really. I'm going to tell you
Are
right
you
now.
an electrolyte skipper?
So yes and no. Like, so sometimes like I'll have a side of Gatorade, but I just take a sip of it and I drink a lot of water. And I don't think I'm like the only one who does this, but like I typically bring or take a shot of like pickle juice before I go.
Yeah, I've heard people do that. I have not tried the pickle juice, but I've heard it's very effective
like,
at curing cramps.
Exactly. But like when I go to a tournament, I don't always have like, it's like access to pickle juice. It's not like I bottle my own pickle juice and I bring it on the plane with me. Like
that's why you get the Propel packets or electrolyte
the
packet.
packets or whatnot. So I've tried a few of them, but I don't know. They just, I don't know. They just don't do it for me, or I just don't like the taste. They leave this kind of like, a lot of them leave this powder residue, or maybe it's just the ratio that I have. I don't shake or stir them as well. But for whatever, that's why I like, pickle juice. Sometimes when I go to my hotel or whatever, like I'll go to the grocery store, because typically, I'm not trying to eat out like, when I go, because traveling is expensive. And typically going out to eat, you don't get the best food. So sometimes I'll get like food to prep, in my hotel or whatever. And typically I try to find me like a small jar of pickles that I make sandwiches with or whatever. And then I bring that in and I eat, or I take that, and it usually helps me out a bit. So that's what I do.
Definitely make sure to bring snacks as well. It's so easy to get hungry. Similar to Will, probably for Atlanta, I'll probably swing by a store and grab some bananas. I really like bananas, and the carbs are good when you're doing an activity like this. You see all the tennis players eating bananas all the time. I normally like to have some kind of granola bar. My brother uses Kind bars, like Kind energy bars, and I actually really like those. Those are super good. Just something like after every match, maybe have a bar, or every other match. Just something to keep you fueled up for the day, because, again, it's very easy to skip meals, and then you're just not feeling it when you get to the later matches, and that really hurts you.
Yeah, no, it's freaking draining.
Yep. So definitely snacks. I bring a backup paddle. I've got a bunch of paddles, so I'm probably going to bring a bunch to the tournament.
Yeah. You're going to bring up my backup paddle, right?
Yeah, I guess I am.
All right, bring me
either
either the edge,
spare Warrior Edge.
A Warrior Edge, or I don't know, maybe you should bring me the Yola CFS as a backup for singles. I don't know.
Okay. Now I'm gonna have to start charging you a fee if I'm gonna be a rental house, then I'm gonna need to charge money. But yeah, a backup paddle's good to have just in case something happens to your paddle. Know. Always good to have. Okay. I bring OOFOS recovery sandals because you are on your feet a lot. I like to interact with people there. Like, I've made a lot of friends, so I like to see people while I'm there. You're playing, then you probably want to watch the pros. Like, I'm normally there, especially because for like 4-0, the matches normally start like 8 a.m. So I'm there from like 8 a.m. literally till the end, because I just like hanging out. So you're on your feet a lot. So in the past, I've just worn my court shoes all day. My feet kill me the next day. So I now bring my OOFOS recovery sandals, and I will just wear those because they feel way better on my feet. So that's nice. Phone. This is maybe skipping ahead a little bit, but we're going to talk about it quick. Keep your phone on you at all times at these big tournaments, because that is how you get notified of what court you are on and when you are playing. You will receive a text on pickleballtournaments.com. There's even a text message function or whatever. Make sure you give them your number and use that text function to make sure the text comes through, because that's how they're going to get a hold of you at the tournament. And if you are late by a certain amount of time, it's like 5 or 10 minutes, you will lose a game for doing that. So
sucks.
Make sure to keep your phone on you. And I always bring a mobile charger now, because my phone is normally almost dead by the end of the day.
Yep.
Especially because I'm filming my matches. So keep a mobile charger and your phone on you at all time. That's actually one reason I really love having my Apple Watch now. I just feel my wrist buzz. Yeah. Like, I'll just check that. So that's handy. Definitely recommend keeping that on you. Other basic things, wallet, because you're going to need that for check-in. You need your ID. I don't know if PPA does it, but I know APP does it. So you have to show up with your driver's license. So make sure you have that. That would be bad. And the last two things for me are extra overgrips and then like lead tape.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Anything specific for you that like I missed?
No, I mean, I agree with pretty much everything there. I'm going to add to the shirts socks.
See, it's interesting. I know people do this, and with how sweaty I am, I would think that socks would be an issue, but it's never an issue.
For you? What?
Yeah, like tournament day, I can use one pair of socks and I'm totally fine.
You're crazy. Your feet must be like rancid after
I think.
the day.
Well, yeah, I'm sure. Well, no, that's definitely bad.
No,
I for sure have to like clean up. Yeah, but
You come
it's
in
obviously
with
gonna be
your
bad.
sandals. You come in with your sandals and you're knocking out your opponents even before they get on the court.
Maybe that's a strategy. I'll have to consider that in the future. But yeah, normally I can do it on one, but I have heard a lot of people bring extra socks, and that's definitely not a bad idea.
Socks. I think you pretty much mentioned everything. I think another thing I'd like to add is if you can, if you have this space in your luggage, a small, like collapsible chair, like or foldable.
That's
chair.
also not a bad idea because chairs get taken up fast.
Yes, especially if you go to a big tournament. There's not always a place to sit, or there
Yep.
might not be a place to sit in the shade. So I've seen some people bring umbrellas. You know.
Yep.
And
Very,
yeah, it's just
very
nice
wise
to have
idea.
it. So yeah, I got like a small foldable chair. I'm going to try and pack that one this tournament because I hate going to a place and not finding a place to sit. Or like if I know there's like a court that I'm most likely to be on or whatever, I can just set it there. And I don't know, having a chair and then having your bag next to a chair, I don't know. I know it's not like security because anybody can just kind of come and take your stuff. But when you bring it to a chair, I don't know why. Like I feel like people are less likely to take it. But like, I don't know if it's prevalent in tournaments, but for the most part, I feel like you can be pretty safe with your stuff. I feel like
I've been
really
pretty
takes-
lax about my stuff. I think if you have a common bag, it could be easy to mix it up. I actually, in New York, Patrick and I have the same bag, and we set it down in this one spot, and when we came back, there was a third identical bag next to
you
ours.
took the wrong one.
No. We took the right one. I made sure that I knew which one was mine. But either mark your bag, maybe write your number on it or something in case it gets lost. For me, since I have an iPhone, I toss an AirTag in my bag. So that way
nice.
it's just like I know where it is at all times. But yeah, generally I have had good luck with that. But you also don't want to be the poor person that like had their bag stolen or something.
So to add to that, I typically like have like, a fanny or like a sling crossbody bag. And that's where I keep most of my important items on me, like, keys, wallet, phone and stuff. So like, even if I lose my bag I'd be just like, it would be a travesty if I lost like, my pickleball paddles and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
But at least I have like my essentials. I pretty much have my essentials on me at all times. So I typically bring like, a smaller bag or a purse or whatever you want to keep all your essentials. And then you have like your backpack or, your duffel where you keep all of your gear to play and whatnot. And then I also always bring like another extra like tote bag or like even like a plastic bag to put trash and maybe to keep, those dirty shirts or socks or whatever. And obviously sunscreen. Huge.
I was actually just going to say that because
Sunscreen.
every tournament I've gotten to forgot sunscreen. And some of these tournaments, man, they get hot. And I already know for Atlanta, probably going to forget it. Going to have to steal someone's sunscreen.
Yeah.
Like these tournaments, man, you're in the sun a lot. There's not always guaranteed shade. Mm-hmm. So please bring sunscreen.
Yeah, sunscreen, sunglasses, especially if you're playing a lot. I mean, like, but if you're going there to watch or whatnot, there's typically some sort of covering in some of the larger, like
sunglasses are a good idea though.
Yeah, and sunglasses for sure. Like, you're out in the sun, you're looking at these bright lights like shining on the court. Like, got to protect your eyes. And plus it's just good if you're playing. You're gonna meet somebody who's going to take advantage and lob you into the, like, were you looking into the sun?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You will get some ruthless people at the tournaments, man. Like, gamesmanship will be different. The line calls, you're going to argue line calls real bad.
When in doubt, call it out. Just kidding, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that, but that's what people do.
Yeah.
People joke all the time about rec out versus tournament out.
Oh, that was
tournament out.
Yeah.
If you hit the line, might as well be out in a tournament. That just so people know. If it hits the line at all, it's in. In fact, you actually are supposed. Not a lot of people know this. Mm-hmm. You're actually supposed to see a gap. If you can't see the gap from the line to the ball, you're supposed to call it in.
Yeah.
So there are actually a lot of balls that people call out. That if you wanted to get super technical about the law, like you might know, that distance the ball's out, but you can't see the gap, so you're not supposed to call it out.
Yeah.
But that doesn't get followed a lot.
No, it doesn't. And I think it's just because you had that recent rule change. So a lot of older people will say that it's that's considered out or whatever because the bottom of the ball didn't touch the line or whatever. But I think now it's like if you take the balls like the side of the ball and you made a straight line like which is perpendicular to the ground, if any part of that piece like from a bird's eye view like grazed any part of the line, it's considered in. And I mean, you're gonna make tough calls. I would say just do your best to make the most fair calls the way you see it. And honestly,
I think most people are like generally you don't have, at least for me, I don't feel like you have people cheating you out of lines. If it becomes a really common thing while you're playing. Get a ref. Yeah. Well, if you have a ref, not every tournament has refs all the time, but I've been to a few now where every game had a ref. You are allowed to ask the ref, did you see the ball? And they can overturn it if they saw it, but just be aware that the ref is usually looking at your feet and they rarely see the ball. So you can ask if you think there's a dispute, but fairly slim chance that they will have seen.
And just remember that it's like, it's your call or it's their call. If it's on their side, it's their call. And so if they give you a bad call, I don't know, it's almost not worth it to argue, especially if you don't have a ref. Even if you do have a ref, it's almost not worth it. Even if like unless money's on the line, like you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, don't tilt over the line calls.
Yeah,
I've had some bad ones. I didn't really realize it at the tournament. But when I go back and watch some of my video, I'm like, holy crap, that was literally a foot inside the line, and they called that out. I'm like, how did they call that out? But again, there's a lot of stuff going on. Adrenaline is high, and just
right.
I think people just mess up sometimes.
Just give your opponent the benefit of the doubt. Like, as you should, and vice versa. And hopefully we can all be cordial and you don't get people yelling and having meltdowns. Because that's the last thing you want is to come out of a match with like super bad taste in your mouth or come out with like a super fight arm. It just taints the whole experience, especially if it's like your first time or whatnot. But I feel like most people are pretty fair for the most part. At least I haven't had any big
most people are
issues.
good. I've maybe had, I don't even know if I can think of an example, like maybe one game where my opponent wasn't particularly friendly, but I don't know. It's a tournament. That's just part of it.
Yeah.
But real quick, I want to blast through some stuff because I just realized we're at an hour. This is just going to be a long episode because I think this has been a good one, but I want to make sure we're not at 2 hours. No. I just want to go through a few things you should know at the tournament. So we already covered the registration desk, kind of. When you get to the tournament, make sure you go to the registration desk and check in. You have to check in so that they know you're there. Otherwise, they don't know you're there. That's a problem. The text message system for getting texts, make sure you have that set up through pickleballtournaments.com. When you get the text, usually there's a central location, and they're usually pretty good about telling you where that is, where once you get the text, you go there, and if you're the first one there, you're going to take... see, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. If you're the first one there, do you take the basket and the ball, or do you just take a ball and then when your opponent comes, they grab the basket and the ball?
My experience is that you take the ball. If you're the first one, you just take
the ball and nothing else.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So then what's going to happen is if you're the first one there, you will take the ball, go to your assigned court, and then your opponent will go to the desk too, and they will come with the second ball and the basket, and they use the system so that they know both of you checked in at the desk. Like they can write off like, yep, they both checked in. They should be on the court playing now.
Yep.
So that's something to know. You'll get a minute or two to warm up when you get there. A big thing that if you have a ref, the ref calls the score. Everyone is used to calling their own score and going at their own pace. When you're playing in a tournament, like a sanctioned tournament that has a ref, the ref calls the score. So make sure you don't make that mistake because I've done that once or twice.
Me too.
And I can't remember if there's actually a punishment. I think if you call the score and then served, that would be a fault. But usually the ref is pretty good at being like, hey, that's my job.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here.
Yep.
So just be aware of that. You get 2 timeouts per game. And then that's, I think.
Okay. One last thing to add to that.
Yeah.
Typically, there'll be like a number hidden on the backside of the scorecard or the score sheet. And then when you go there, one of the players will, call what number that is. And then if you guess it right, you have the option to choose whether to serve or receive first. And if you, and then the other player gets to choose the side. That's typically how it goes.
Usually one team will just take, probably if you wanted to get super technical, the team that brings the basket should probably be the one that you are the one that then picks the number. Because if you brought the basket,
you can look at it.
You could look at it. You shouldn't do that. I don't know if people do that, but yeah. So just be aware of that. You pick a number. If you guess it correctly, then you will pick side or serve. What do you normally pick? I pick serve all the time. I mean, if it's windy, I will base my choice on that. But if there's no wind, then I always choose serve.
Yeah, I typically choose serve first.
Yeah.
As well.
Way I view it is like it just gives you the opportunity to get the momentum rolling early. Obviously, you only get one serve. So that's some people's argument is like, well, if you get the ball back right away, then you get 2 serves and they only got 1. But I'd rather just have I'd rather be able to come swinging right away and be scoring.
Right, exactly. No, I'm the same way. I mean, obviously, if I'm playing singles, I'm always serving first.
Yeah, 100%.
And then doubles.
No shot you shouldn't pick serve first unless there's wind.
Right, exactly. And in doubles, I typically pick serve first. There have been a few occasions where I pick receive, but yeah, typically it's serve first. I feel like you have that kind of advantage, unless like you're really good at returning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, maybe. So, yeah, I don't know if those are the main things I think you should know about just like when you get to a tournament, dealing with the refs and whatnot. Do you have anything else to add to that?
Not that I can think of right now. I like to get to the tournament early if I can and check in early because that line
highly
can
recommend
get long.
early. Yes.
And then if you do get there early, you can always try to get some warm-ups in. I actually try to walk around the facility and try to have an idea of where the courts are. So when I go to the
courts, bathroom, desk,
right,
everything.
Exactly. So you know where everything is, right? And so if they tell you, oh, you're on court, like, I don't know, 22A or something, you have an idea of where that is. And
a ballpark of where that is.
Exactly. So you're not like, oh, where is it? Because once people are there and people are playing, like it can be a bit much. Yeah, it can be chaotic of knowing where your courts are and where things and navigating. People have their bags and their chairs, like, How
early do you like to get there? I like to do at least an hour.
Yeah, I mean, if I could do an hour, I could, unless I'm like sleeping in or something like that. But yeah, typically,
you can sleep in for tournaments because I'm awake like all night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I do sleep, but my body normally wakes me up very early, just out of like excitement.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I try to get there an hour early if I can, but typically I get there like 45 minutes to like 30 minutes. It also depends on where I'm staying
30 minutes would be pushing it because if you got a long line,
this is true,
and then like your 30 minutes are up and your court gets called, that would suck.
Yeah, no, but yeah, I typically try to get there an hour early.
All right, so to get ready to close, we'll basically go into game strategies. Will, is there anything you like to do for strategies?
Yeah. For strategies, keep it simple. Like, don't try to do anything fancy. Everybody, I know you want to be in the highlights, like, you want to get that Ernie or you want to get that ATP or whatever. But honestly, I mean, I think everybody knows this and understands this, but we don't always think this. But, pickleball is just a game of mistakes. So when you're at a tournament, you're tense, right? You're just trying to mitigate your mistakes. So what I like to do is think about, okay, what am I most comfortable with? Like, I know I said I practice a lot of, drops and resets or whatnot, but sometimes when you're tense, it's hard to do that. And me coming from a tennis background, like sometimes like I know that if I drive the ball, like it's not the most amazing drive, but I know it's going to go in and I make them play a ball. So, you're just trying to make them play a ball. And if I'm tense or whatever, that's kind of like one of my defaults. You know what I'm saying? Know what your defaults are, keep it simple, hit to the middle, and you're gonna see success, or you're gonna get more success than you realize, because typically the other team is also tense, especially 3-0 to like 4-0, maybe even like 4-5. I think once you get past like the 4-5 level, like mistakes start happening a lot. Less. But if you're listening to this and you're 4-0 below, even if you're 4-5, keep it simple. What about you?
Yeah, I don't think I have too many specific strategies. What I'm trying to get better at, especially for doubles, and Shay will probably be the lead on this at Atlanta, at least just based on what I've seen in the past, is I really like having something either ahead of time before the match, kind of knowing roles. You and I have talked about this. I feel like you should know what each person is going to do. And I think when you're at the much lower levels, it may not matter as much, but I still think it's good to be like, make sure your communication's on point. Like, who is the finisher? Are you both strong? Then like you need to call your balls on like who's going to take the overhead.
Yep.
So I think those things are really good to know ahead of time, and just like communicating well while you're playing. I feel like when you get tense, communication can get bad, and sometimes you're looking at your partner like, well, why didn't you take that ball? So having those things planned out ahead of time, and then trying to adjust as much as you can while you're playing your opponent. That's where timeouts can come in handy. You can pause, talk to your partner and be like, hey, are you seeing anything? Like, am I doing something that is getting you in trouble? Like, what can we do to adjust?
Gotcha. No, that's good. And I think that harkens back to like what I was saying, keeping it simple. You should also just like, if you don't know what to do, I guess where to put the ball. Like, so once you figure out like your default strokes, where to put the ball, typically in the center, just put it in the center. And if you do have a
ADM, baby.
Yeah,
always dink middle.
Always dink middle. Even if driving into the middle, like, you'll find some success. And if you have played with your partner, while like harken back to what you're saying about like roles, just to go in with like one common kind of strategy. Like you could do like, shake and bake. For those of you who don't know, like that's typically one of the first strategies I employ. And it's really just having having your partner, like whoever's stronger at the net with faster hands, right? They rush the net while like their teammate like drives the ball right into the center, and you're looking for an opportunity, and just to see if that works. See a few times, see if it works. And if it works, keep on doing it. Like,
one, look for patterns as much as you can, because a lot of people do have, I mean, basically what Will's saying is having defaults is good. And if you can catch on to people's defaults, you can kind of figure out like little counters. So there was one team I played in a tournament one time where we weren't necessarily trying to shake and bake, but, well, actually, no, because he partner was dropping, but he would drop the ball and I would always go up, assuming it was a good drop. Like I would kind of anticipate like, yeah, it's a good drop. Start running up, and they would always just go straight back to him. Like you should. You want to keep the other guy back, but they were pretty lazy with it, so they would kind of just push it, and then I just started anticipating like, oh, I should just poach and then just finish the ball. So look for little things like that. If you come up to the net a lot and it's always going back to your partner, that can be a thing to try out too.
And then the next thing is look for the weaker player.
Yeah, figure out who the weaker player is. That's
huge.
actually a really good one. Me and my brother have started, if we don't know the team, we kind of look at them and maybe guess. Like if you have like a much older person and a much younger person, like, you can kind of just guess.
I wouldn't know.
Well, so it depends. Like at the PPA we went to, there was a much older lady and a much younger kid. And for whatever reason, just looking at the kid, maybe because he might have been way younger, like 16 or something. So I was like, okay, he is probably the weaker one here. So we pick one and start with it. You pick on them, give them like every ball. And then if you're just like, okay, this isn't working, switch to the other person and figure out what it is. And basically just try and pick out what their weakness is. Like if you give it to their backhand every time, like has every backhand dink gone into the net? Maybe this person's worse at dinking. Maybe this person's aggression's really bad and they make mistakes. So like you can win a hands battle against them, but dinking is a bad idea. They can out-dink you all day. Just like stuff like that to look for.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, especially if you're new to a tournament or whatever, you're playing at the lower levels, like, just keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate things. And yeah.
Honestly, if it's your first tournament and you're playing a lower level, like literally just go and play.
Yeah, go and play. Go and play and have fun.
These aren't things I ever thought about at my first couple tournaments. I just think you're already kind of stressed. It's easy to get caught up in too much. So
right, exactly. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think that's it, man. Shoot.
Yeah, this was a good tournament episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. We will update you when we're back from Atlanta. Will and I will be having our singles rematch. If you haven't already seen the video on his channel where him and I played singles, go watch it. I got my butt absolutely handed to me.
It was a fun time.
But we're gonna have a rematch because I've been training hard. So we'll see if the work paid off or not, and we'll have some fun double stories. Well, but here's the thing. So let me get this straight. If I beat you, are we still gonna run with this meme?
Maybe not.
Because
we are.
Okay, but that means if I beat you, what does that say about you?
Oh, that I'm trash.
Does that say you're 3-0 at best? Well, we'll see. This saga will be continued. We'll update you guys on the podcast.
All right.
As soon as we have an answer.
All right, man.
All right. Good stuff. Later, guys.